Technology is working. Hello and welcome. Are you stressed? I know this has just been a little bit of a stressful moment for me. Let me know whether you can relate to that. And I'm going to give to you today my 5-step process that's been helping me not be a headless chicken when it comes to feeling stressed and letting it throw me off the rails all the time, but actually by choosing how I react to stress, contribute a little bit to making this world a better place. If that's what you resonate with, if that's something that you're looking for as well, please stay tuned. I'm excited you're here. Hello and welcome. In case we haven't met before, my name is Katrin from bloomwithkatrin.com, and I'm coming live to you from the beautiful Bavarian forest over here in Germany. Please don't be shy. Say hi, whether you join me live or later on the replay, and also drop me down below where you're tuning in from, because I love to know that so I can circle back around and have a little conversation with you. I love helping networkers like yourself build a strong, active dream team here on social media, leveraging modern day online strategies and doing so with confidence, savvy, and soul. And here's one thing that I've learned over the years is that when we let our mindset and our emotions take over, we can have the most effective online strategies to do whatever. We will find a way to self-sabotage. Okay, let me know whether you can relate to that. And so for me, this is definitely something that is that I struggled with myself for a very long time, starting off in my puberty. I was not really shown a good example, I would call it, when it comes to a stress reaction. So in my family, where I come from, it was either shouting at each other, like fighting, or it was ignoring each other. Those were like the two examples that I was shown in my youth. And these are my two default reactions. Let me know whether you can relate. And if you have different ones, drop them down below. I'd be curious to know what it is that you've learned in your family when it comes to reacting to stress, okay? Because here's the thing, stress is a part of life. We all have our triggers, our buttons that will be pushed, right? And whether that's, you can get stressed because you're stuck in traffic. Anybody? Especially when I'm late, I can get quite stressed about that. Or maybe something's not working on social media, okay? And if that's where you're at, I actually have a goodie for you at the end, okay? So please stick around. Maybe something is stressful for you because somebody else did or didn't do something that you would have thought was important, okay? And so most people have one of these two stress reactions I already mentioned, right? That is either taking it out on the people who happen to be there, preferentially our family, right? Because like here I can be who I am, kind of like, right? Or actually retreating from our family, retreating from our friends, retreating from our teams, right? And like, being in our own soup, so to speak, okay? So in my youth, I was sharing that a bit with you. I often felt like I was riding a horse-drawn carriage, right? And I had the reins, usually. And sometimes I lost the reins, okay? And then this horse-drawn carriage would go off with me and I had to really fight hard to gain the reins again. So if that's maybe where you're at, if that is where you feel like, well, sometimes I kind of like lose it a little bit when I'm stressed, then this is my 5-step process. And again, this is not really something that you need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It can intertwine. Sometimes I'll think of this more and sometimes I think of something else more, but it's like a good guideline that's worked really well for me over the years. So let's dive on in. Step number 1 is become aware that you're stressed. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes like my hubby, my partner in life and crime say, Katrin, what's going on with you today? And I don't even notice that I'm actually quite stressed. Okay, let me know whether you can relate to that one. So it's important to know our triggers. I'm going to tell you a story from my personal life. So maybe you're aware I have a 12-year-old son, right? And he is in a phase where he whines a lot. I don't really know what's going on in his life. I'm not really sure what's happening. I hope it's just a phase that's going to pass, because if it stays this way, I think we will run into a problem sooner or later. So this is what happened yesterday, right? We were like, okay, let's go for a bike ride. Okay. And we were all looking forward to it. It was really good weather to do that. We had an awesome destination. We wanted all to go there. And like half an hour into the ride, he started whining with no apparent reason. He couldn't really put his finger on what was actually bothering him. He was just starting to whine. And here it is. Here is my trigger reaction that I've come to understand this is something to watch out for me. Okay. And that is when he starts to whine in that special tone and level of voice, I go like, oh, right? I'll roll my eyes immediately. Let me know whether you have something like that as well. Okay, so just get to know your body as well a little bit, okay, as a sign of stress, really. Okay, so maybe it's a pit in your stomach, maybe it's a lump in your throat, maybe it's just you feel the heat rising, okay? Whatever it might be, just become aware of it, because only once you're aware you can change something, okay? That's step number one. Step number two is, and this is a difficult one, choose to pause and choose to judge and communicate later. And this can be hard because in the heat of the moment, let me know whether you can agree with that, it is so much easier to just act on the emotion, right? Gives us even some sort of satisfaction, like, wow, putting it out there, right? What it also happens is very quickly, we might be jumping to conclusions and into judgment mode and taking things personally, while we completely forget to remember that we have, at the end of the day, no idea what's going on inside that other person who might have been triggering us. Okay? And especially when you go, oh, why did you do that? You know, we wanted to go for that bike ride. Everybody was in agreement. So were you, right? This is what you wanted to do. And here you are whining, how come? Right? It's not very effective. So instead of reacting, instead of sending that message to somebody, you know, who might have left us a negative comment, or who might have sent us a, you know, a not appreciative message, or, you know, rather than shouting at somebody right away, let's choose to not react, okay? And do whatever works for you. Maybe you want to have a little bit of a cry. I was very close to tears yesterday. Because I was so frustrated. How can this be happening? Okay. Yeah, that was just me. Maybe you need to walk it out. I like to dance things out, but it's not always possible to do these things, right? Sometimes, here's what I would do as a child very often. I would like take my pillow and really scream into the thing. Okay. So nobody else could hear, but I had this feeling of letting that energy go. So, but I want to give you a breathing technique. It's a 4x5 breathing technique that can really make a difference and help you, once you're aware that you're stressed and you've chosen you want to pause, to actually do pause and not do anything with it. Okay, so we can do that together if you want to. And I would be really, really curious to know what you feel afterwards. Okay, so get ready to type that down below. But here it is. Let's take a deep breath in and count to 5. Let's hold the breath for 5. Let's breathe out for 5. And let's hold the breath again. 4, 5. And then you repeat the cycle. For me, what it does is it instantly calms my nervous system. I can just feel everything like going. And to me, that's priceless, especially because for me, stress is a heat thing, okay? And everything's boiling up, and this is like calming it down. So that's for me the number one tip when it comes to, I want to choose to pause, but how do I do it? You control your breath. Step number 3 is put things into perspective, because in the heat of the moment, things can seem like nothing else in the world is more important, a huge drama happening, right? My son is a master at that, right? Ask yourself, will whatever might have been triggering you and stressing you, will it still matter in 5 minutes, in 50 minutes, in 5 days, 5 weeks from now? If it will, okay, absolutely. Go ahead and, solve the problem if there is one. But if it's at the end of the day, maybe just, well, it's just something, I'm just super busy and this is like, stressing me out at the moment. Just be okay with that and having that perspective. It also helps, at least it helps me to really calm down a little bit in the process, okay? To really put things into perspective. Step number 4 is evaluate. 2 things. Number 1, can I control what's happening? With my son and his whining, I know I can't. Sometimes I wish I could, but I can't. Okay? And step number 2, or question number 2 is, what can I do about this right now? With my son and his whining, not so very much. I mean, yeah, I can shout at him. I can tell him to stop it. It's not very effective, at least not so far. So, right? And if you feel that you can't control it and you can't really do anything about it, understand that now you actually have a choice to hang on to that. I'm so stressed out, right? Maybe it's a health issue for you. Maybe you're waiting for some test result. Maybe you are stuck in traffic. I hope you're not. But maybe you're already late. Happens to me quite a bit. And then usually is what I get stuck in traffic on top of things, right? These are things we can't necessarily change. But what we can do is we can choose where we focus our energy, where we focus our attention, okay? We can choose to waste our energy in that cycle of being stressed and in all kinds of emotional states, or we can say, okay, you know what? I want to move on from this quickly. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Tonight, when I'll, have done all my work, nobody will care whether I was late 5 minutes or not, for example, right? So putting this into perspective with my whining son, I know at the end of the day, at night, we're going to have a great conversation about this. And then we're going to, dive deeper on what was actually going on. Because in the moment, I found that he's not able to do that at this point. Okay? Maybe you depend on others. Same thing. This might be difficult for you to do. Remember the breathing exercise. When you can't change something that's stressing you out, try to chill out and remember the breathing exercise. Okay? And really intentionally focus your energy to something positive, something you can control right here, right now in a traffic jam. For me, what happens a lot is I'm going to start having conversations with people in Messenger, right? It's a great time. It's not necessarily the time I would have chosen to do it, but if that's where I'm at, that's what I'll do. Okay? So how can I make the best of things in the here and now? Hope this is helpful for you, by the way. Drop that down below. And if you have an aha or a takeaway, let me know. Okay? And here's step number 5, and that is act. So your actions will make yourself proud. Because I don't know about you, but in the past, it happened to me quite a bit that I would react out of stress in a way that didn't make life more beautiful, shall I say, right? Where I would actually destroy things, where I would say things I regretted later, where I would do things I had to make amends later on for, okay? And yes, in the moment, it might feel like, yeah, I'm powerful and whatever. But at the end of the day, it created more, or I needed more energy at the end of the day to not only calm myself down at some point, but also make the amends, rather than, not getting into that emotional state in the first place and acting on it, okay? So act in a way that's going to make yourself proud, whatever that might look like, okay? For me and my son yesterday, I tried and I managed for a very long time. In the end, he did trigger me, or I let it trigger myself. So I did say, you know what, it's Sunday afternoon. Can you please behave? Because I was so, it had cost me so much energy already that day to that point, okay, if that makes sense. But, pardon me, try to get curious, okay? Try to get curious on what might I do so I can experience what it is that I actually want to experience. You don't want to experience stress and all those other negative emotions, do you? Okay, so what is one thing that you might do differently? And do that. For me, yesterday, it was actually getting curious with my son, asking him, hey, what's going on, mate? Okay, I was curious. I was interested. I wanted to see what was going on inside of him. He wasn't able to really explain it. And that was okay as well, right? just always remember, at the end of the day, it's not what's happening. Yes, it might trigger us for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, whatever, okay? But it's what we do about it and with it that actually is where our power is to change this world. So if that's something that you feel you want to do, you want to change the world, how about we change how we are acting inside of the world, okay? And to me, these 5 steps are really powerful. So, but here's the treat that I promised you at the beginning. If you're a business builder, if you're looking to build a strong team online, and you're sometimes, kind of like a bit overwhelmed with social media in general, I've put together a really cool checklist that can help you out, get out of that overwhelm. But the real treat, and I'm going to put the link to that down below once I'm done, but the real treat is if you feel like you have all moving pieces kind of like together, but they don't seem to click, they don't really seem to cooperate and come together in a beautiful way, then I have an invitation